Hey, what's up? This is Sully from Godsmack. Strap on those boots, baby, because you are now in the trenches of the war room with the one and only Mistress Carrie right here on the Mistress Carrie podcast.
What's up? This is Joe Rogan, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie.
Her hair so lovely, pretty eyes.
Hey, this is Brent from Shinedown, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie. Hey, Carrie, go put your bra on, girl.
Hey, this is Steven Tyler, and you be listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
What's up? This is Aaron from Stain, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie.
Hi, everybody. This is Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters, and you're listening to the one, the only Mistress Carrie.
Hey, this is David from the band Disturbed, and you're listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
Hi, Bruce Dickinson here from Iron Maiden. Yes, indeed, Miss Whiplash herself, Mistress Carrie, is here to unchain your brain.
Hi, this is Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. You're listening to Mistress Carrie.
This is Dennis Leary. You are listening to my favorite, Mistress Carrie.
Hey, this is Corey from Stone Sour, and you have the privilege of listening to Mistress Carrie.
Oh, God. Oh, yeah.
Hey, it's Mistress Carrie, reporting for duty from MCHQ for episode 284 of the Mistress Carrie podcast. This week, my guest, Jeff Plate from Savatage and the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, returns before TSO hits the road for this holiday season. Jeff made his first appearance on episode 229 of the Mistress Carrie podcast. And this time around, we talked in his home studio about the pyro on the TSO tour, the idea of Trans-Siberian Orchestra taking over the sphere, celebrating the holidays, Ozzy Osbourne, new metal, Spinal Tap, and so much more. If you have not yet experienced Trans-Siberian Orchestra, once you see it once, you'll understand everything. It's an amazing show, and it's part of my family's holiday tradition. So I was so excited that Jeff agreed to come back on the show before he hits the road on this exhaustive touring schedule. So allow me to reintroduce you to Jeff Plate from Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Well, hello, Jeff. Thanks for coming back on the show.
You bet. Good to see you.
I know it's that time of year when I get the email that the TSO schedule is released. It's like it's something that happens, albeit a little early to discuss the holiday season, but I know you guys got to, get the word out there early, so I accept it.
Hey, there's Christmas stuff in the stores now, so it's like, I don't know if it's ever too early anymore. It's kind of crazy.
As a person whose favorite day of the year is Halloween,
there you go.
I don't like anything that stomps on my Halloween. November 1st, Christmas gets the rest of the year, and I'm cool with it, but don't F with my Halloween.
There should be a law, from holiday to holiday, you can't impede on there shouldn't be that. But hey, it is what it is, and here we are.
I would love, in some way, not that you guys need more work on your plate, but imagine in a universe where the TSO tackled Halloween.
It's been talked about.
Has it really?
No, Paul had a lot of ideas. He had a lot of ideas. If you, this year we're celebrating the 25th anniversary of Beethoven's Last Night. That album right there has a little bit of that spooky vibe to it too, so that kind of fits it in with that frame of thought. But hey, that would be kind of a neat idea, right?
They said in the press release when they announced the ridiculous amount of tour dates you guys are doing this year, that it's the biggest and best show ever. Last year, when you were on the show, we talked about how there would be no room in the arena left for us, the fans, if you made the show any bigger. How did you manage to make this show any bigger?
I don't know if we can actually get bigger. I think it's better, every year technology and all of this stuff just improves every year. I notice it really with the video content. You look at the videos for our shows, it's like, oh my God, it's like I'm watching a high-def television. It's crazy. So every year there's a lot of that improves. Every year there's some new effect or a new visual or a new something that we incorporate in the show. When we started doing this years ago, it was one of Paul O'Neill's things. No two shows are going to be the same, and every year is going to be better than the previous year. And I tell you something, the management people that work on this and the production team that works on this, they come up with it every year, and it blows my mind. I'm privy to see stuff early if I want to. And about 10 years ago, I was like, I don't want to see anything until it's up, until it's running, until you hit the switch and that thing lights up. And I tell you, I'm always surprised that it just looks better. It sounds better. These guys do a fantastic job. So this year will be no different. It's going to be no different. So
have they ever taken creative suggestions from you guys? I consider like the band itself and the crew that actually does the touring, like the boots on the ground. Have you guys ever gone to production and said, hey, next year, we thought this would be cool? Or is it just a totally separate creative group behind TSO that is like the mastermind behind what the production is going to look like?
Well, the management team has the final say in all of this. Myself, I've been here from the beginning. So if I have an opinion on something, they're going to listen. And I think that's across the board. Everybody realizes that these guys do a tremendous amount of work to build this show and to make it work. Let's run it the way they've got it built. If there's something that somebody notices that can maybe improve it, sure, speak up. There's no qualms with that. But yeah, for me, for instance, the pyro is the thing that all of us on stage have to be very conscious of. So there's been times where it's like, guys, that's just a little too hot. Or that's just a little too close. Or can we maybe not do the pyro hit right at this moment of the song, maybe 10 seconds later or something when I'm maybe not doing, little things like that go. They take all suggestions, but for the most part, these guys are very conscious of all of us on stage, as we are very conscious of the show too. So everybody works together and it all works out well.
You talk about advancements in technology. I talked to Justin Chancellor from Tool. He said they've been approached. There's a lot of rumors, and Lars kind of fed into it from Metallica about Metallica going into the Sphere. I'm trying to imagine what TSO would look like in the Sphere in Vegas. It would just be almost sensory overload for us as fans.
I tell you something, if Paul O'Neill was still here with us, he would make that happen. He would be chomping at the bit to put us in there and go crazy with that visual aspect of it. I think it'd be fantastic. But hey, that's quite a daunting task. I mean, how would we do it? I don't even know if we could do it during the holidays. We got two touring groups that we're kind of tied up at the time.
You guys are a little busy. Your families must just be like, do you celebrate Christmas at Valentine's Day when you're finally rested?
Oh, man. You know what? It's usually, so my wife is from Cleveland, and we usually end the tour somewhere close to Cleveland. So we go there for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, and then I usually get home on January 2nd or 3rd, something like that. And then that's my Christmas. That's when I can just kind of sit down and relax, open a couple of gifts, chill out, take a breath. So, but hey, we've been doing this for a long time. Everybody knows the drill, families included, everybody's on board. So it's not an issue, but it is rewarding to get home and turn on all the lights, get the fire going, put on some football, and sit back and chill for a little bit.
TSO has always been amazing at bringing in the best of the best when it comes to the talent on stage. And last year, you guys brought in a vocalist who is one of my favorite newer singers in rock and roll, Moriah Formica, who I just could not love more. And when I saw that they brought her voice into TSO, I was like, oh, yes, because her pipes are just so amazing.
Moriah has been with us, I think, for 3 years.
Has it been 3? I thought maybe she got brought in as like a guest vocalist or something, but I thought last year was the first year she did the tour fully.
No.
Oh, wow.
This might even be her 4th year. So you're in Worcester, right?
Yeah, well, I'm in Mass. Yeah, but all over New England is. Yeah.
Sure. So Moriah has been singing with the West Coast group since she's been in. Maybe she'll come back over to the East. I really don't know how they have this set up yet. Sometimes, depending on some people leaving, coming and going, which happens, then the lineup gets changed up a little bit. But yes, she is not only a sweetheart, but when that girl starts singing, holy cow. Yeah, she's great.
It comes out of her toes.
Yeah, it's... Hey, I've always said, obviously what I do is a pretty demanding job, drumming and all this and that, coordination, et cetera, et cetera. I think if your body is your instrument, that to me is the most impressive. And some of these people that we have out here singing with us in either group, either East or West, just phenomenal. It's like, man, Russell Allen, he's been singing with us in TSO for a number of years. Zach Stevens from Savatage. These guys are just awesome every night. Guys and girls, I love it.
It is crazy to have the ability to just open your mouth and have something like that come out, because I got this voice, which does one thing. Luckily, I found a way to make a living with it, because it definitely is not singing.
Hey, that's why I'm a drummer. I stay back here. Even if I'm singing back here, nobody can hear me. That's all good. We'll keep it like that.
When you were on the show last year, we spent a lot of time talking about how surprised people were in the early days that TSO was such a mass appeal and kind of theatrical, amazing thing, but that it came out of all the weirdo metalheads. And now, just over since you and I talked, Gojira put classical music and heavy metal at the Olympics and won a Grammy over it. And when I watched that live, you were one of the people that I thought of because of that conversation that we had about how metal, even though we're like the land of misfit toys and like the people that think, we're the weird ones, but that melding of classical music and the theatricality of the whole thing, it struck me as a very kind of TSO thing, even though obviously It wasn't. It made me very proud as a metalhead.
I think the whole rock meets classic thing has been going on for a long time. Beethoven, Mozart, those cats were rock stars back in their days, This whole idea, this was kicking around in Paul O'Neill's head for, since the mid 80s, trying to incorporate all this and make this work together. And when he began working with the Oliva brothers in Savatage, he really started incorporating some of this more symphonic element to the metal music. Storytelling, being a little bit more dramatic, being a little bit more emotional. He planted the seeds for TSO back in the 80s, starting with Hall of the Mountain King and working your way up. So when he had the chance to really put this whole thing together and bring it out, he knew what he was doing. He had a good team of people around him, but he'd been formulating this in his mind for the longest time. And it was funny, I was just talking with somebody about what did your peers think about this when you first came out with this Christmas song? And next thing you know, the guys in Savatage are like they're in TSO and they're wearing tuxedos and they're playing Christmas music. What's going on? We all scratched our head at some point as to what was really going on here. Paul had the vision. Paul was running with it. He was taking us in a certain direction, and we were all game. It's like, all right, Paul, you lead the way. We're with you. But there was more questions than answers when we first started this. And as time went on, we started realizing Paul's onto something here. And once this thing really kind of took hold, there wasn't really any jeers or anything like that from our peers. But I think at some point, everybody all of a sudden took a different look at this and was like, wow, this thing is really cool. Paul took the Christmas music where rock bands and people have done Christmas songs forever, but they were always kind of safe and maybe always kind of silly in a way. Paul really added some punch to it, and he added some power to it. And I think that's really what took people by surprise, but also that was a big appeal to it also. And here again, it's just that rock element, that metal element, that power. And you think back to all this classical music it's been written, since whenever, 1700s or whatever. There's some amazing stuff in there that I was not aware of until I got in this band and we started reviewing and exploring some ideas. It's like, oh my God, that is where Yngwie Malmsteen got a lot of his ideas and stuff like that, So it's been going on for a long time, but hey, Paul struck on something pretty unique, and here we are 30 years later, and this thing is still selling out arenas twice a day. It's just amazing.
Well, you talk about those singers that have this amazing gift to have their body be their instrument. Paul's a guy whose brain had a level of creativity that I think most people, it's just not even possible.
Yep. He, like I said, when TSO first happened, he had a great group of people around him. I mean, he had a very good band in Savatage, I can proudly say that. But he also had some very smart people on the other side, in management, in production, that he really leaned on and learned from in order to, how do I put this thing together and how do I make this thing work? He had a lot of people.
There's a lot of power in people that can say, yes, we'll figure it out.
Exactly. But Paul's the guy that came in the room with the crazy idea. How do we make this work? Go, and everybody's job was to, okay, let's rip this thing apart and analyze it and see if we can make his vision come to life. And had the right people working for him at the right time. And it's all really worked out well.
I've been talking to so many musicians just over the last few months when it got announced that Ozzy and Sabbath were going to do their last show. And then obviously the last 6 weeks since the death of Ozzy. I think it's impossible to be in rock and metal and not be influenced by Sabbath and Ozzy in some way, shape, or form.
Yep.
When did you get exposed to that music? And do you have an Ozzy story? Because every artist I've talked to has got one.
So I grew up in upstate New York, 3 television channels, AM radio. My parents listened to country music. I didn't have the older brother or the older person to turn me on to Sabbath and Zeppelin and that kind of stuff when I was younger. But I always knew Paranoid. You always knew Iron Man. Honestly, since Ozzy's passed, I've probably dug into their catalog more than I ever have.
I think a lot of people have.
And wow, it isn't just, it's very musical. I mean, and I think that's one thing that people kind of assume that, oh, it's Black Sabbath, it's metal, it's noise, it's loud, blah, blah, blah. There's some great music, great drumming. Bill Ward, fantastic. But it was probably when Ozzy became a solo artist, Blizzard of Oz. All of a sudden they hit the radio, and by that time I was playing in cover bands and kind of had gotten some chops and, exploring some music and stuff like that. That album, that in Diary of a Madman, that was nonstop on my turntable and my cassette deck at the time. I loved those records. I don't really have an Ozzy story per se. I was living in Florida at the time. I had tickets to see Ozzy at the Tangerine Bowl. And it was right at my birthday, I think the show was. But anyhow, several days prior to the show is when Randy got killed in that accident.
Oh.
I was so excited to see this band. I wanted to see Ozzy. I wanted to see Randy. I wanted to see Tommy Aldridge on drums. I was so excited. And I was actually working at a convenience store and working the late shift, and the guy comes on the radio and says, "We've got some terrible news." And I just remember hearing that, and man, what a punch to the gut. It was so sad and just gone too soon, just too young of a man, but what a fantastic talent. And here again, once you start digging back into the history of Ozzy, and then you dig into the history of Randy Rhoads and all this and that, just an amazing musician. You know?
Ozzy was a magnet for those musicians. He just was surrounded by greatness through his entire career.
Yep. And somebody like Randy Rhoads was the counterbalance to Ozzy's madness, really, you know. But those two early records, I love them. I just listened to Diary of a Madman the other morning, put it on. And that song in particular, I think is fantastic. I always loved that song. But hey, Ozzy had a great run. He probably lasted a lot longer than I think most of us expected.
And what an amazing way to be able to like finish his career in such a powerful way for fans, for the music industry, for the bands he inspired, for the family to be able to have everybody there. It's just like, of course, Ozzy went out that way.
Yeah. Yep. He left quite a legacy, and the amount of music that he actually wrote and recorded, he did a lot of work in his day. He wasn't sitting around idle. He did a lot of fantastic stuff. So I did get to see the original Black Sabbath. I think this was 2005. I was over in Europe. It was a festival in Holland. It was one of the more interesting festivals I've ever seen as far as a lineup. It started out with Alter Bridge, POD, Motorhead, Slayer, Velvet Revolver, Audioslave, the original Black Sabbath, and then the headliner was Rammstein. How's that for a lineup?
Those European festivals, and I'm glad the U.S. has kind of figured out how to put on these big giant festivals. Those lineups.
Yeah.
I talk to bands all the time, and I always ask them, like, what's your favorite festival experience, not as a performer, but as a fan? Because if you play, you get the pass where you can kind of wander around and you get to meet bands you never would have met before. You can stand on the side of the stage and watch bands you've never seen before. Like, those festivals, they're awesome for us, but they're amazing for you guys too.
Sure. So this year, Savatage was actually, we started touring again.
I know.
We did some shows in South America. We did some shows in Europe. And exactly what you just said is something that we have missed for a long time, is being at these festivals and running into people that you've known forever, but you haven't seen in years. You know, the members of Priest, the members of Scorpions, the guys in Queensryche, Slipknot. We did a show with them over in Europe. So yeah, to be able to, I mean, hey, we're all there to work, but we're also fans. And to be around some of these groups and hear that music still, it's fantastic. It really is pretty cool to be able to stand on the side of the stage and really get up close and personal and watch these guys. It's great.
Some of the bands you mentioned are celebrating massive anniversaries, right? Judas Priest, 40 years, Scorpion, 60 years, Slipknot, 25 years. As somebody at Savatage, the same thing, that has been able to stand the test of time, continue to innovate. Same thing with TSO. Find a way. I find it very difficult to name another genre of music where the fans are so loyal and the careers are so long because the passion for the music doesn't wane, and it's generational.
Yeah. It all starts with the music. You know, Savatage has been through so many member changes. You know, so many different lineups have taken the stage. but it all comes down to those songs. And I mean, I'm not the original drummer in the band, but I've been in the group since 1994. Myself, Al Petrelli, Chris Caffrey, Johnny Middleton, we've all been there 30 plus years, you know. The fans, when we went out to tour again this year, obviously one of the issues in that was John Oliva was not healthy enough to go on tour. How are fans going to receive this? And John is involved in everything, you know, the set list, the et cetera. He's there for all of the rehearsals and helping us put the show together, but he just could not get out there and do it with us. He gave us his blessing, and the fans were like, that's good. That's great. This is what we want to hear. We're going to hear this music live again. So we really took it to heart and rehearsed a lot, probably more than we've ever rehearsed for a Savatage tour, to make sure this music really was as good as it could be with the lineup that we had. And it just went over so well. But it just starts with the songs, you know? The music that the Lever brothers wrote, along with Paul's lyrics and his story ideas, it's just timeless. So when you see a band like Priest that's been up there for 50 years and the Scorpions for 60 years, it's like these guys started doing something and stuck to their game. They weren't trying to ride a fad or sound like another band. They sounded the way they did. They stuck to it, and I think that has, along with the quality of the music, but they created something unique that they just stuck with. And instead of trying to sound like everybody else and getting lost in the mix, they've always stood out and stood the test of time. So we're really lucky. I mean, I feel lucky myself. I think I can speak for my other bandmates too, to be a part of something like this, where the Savatage music is very unique. It survived all these member changes, all these fads. It survived grunge, you know,
which a lot of bands didn't.
Exactly.
Those bands are back though, which is amazing that everything becomes so cyclical.
Yep.
That the music that grunge killed, eventually people realize those grunge bands grew up listening to those bands that they killed, which is the irony of it.
Yep.
And how much, for the fluff that was there towards the end, you can't throw the good stuff out. Like the meat of it, there was such amazing innovation, songwriting, talent, that it always, if it's good, it's coming back.
Yep, exactly. And honestly, there still is. I mean, I teach drums, and I have sometimes these students come in with, hey, I want to learn this song by this band. I've never heard of them before. You know, you bring up YouTube and they got like 20 million views, and you listen to the song, it's like, wow, this is great. But there is so much of that now.
Yeah.
You know, there are so many bands out there. There's so much talent out there. It's hard to keep up with it and keep track of it. But you're right. The grunge thing, it did its damage. Maybe it weeded out some things that needed to be weeded out. But I think along with that, fans of those bands kept listening to the music, and then they have families and they raise their kids and they're still listening to the music, and the kids still like, you know, they grow up with that music. So a lot of it is very, very, it's good music, but it has a very good energy to it. A lot of it's positive. A lot of it's a lot of fun. You know, think about Van Halen and the likes of that. Has there ever been another band that's really been that fun? Ever since, you know, you've got a lot of really popular bands, but most everybody has this edge to them now.
Yeah.
Van Halen was just like, party on, let's go. It was great. So it's a great time to be a kid and listening to music like that.
I started on the air in the mid to late 90s. And so that whole, for lack of a better term, new metal era that got ushered in. And I remember a lot of like the alternative people and the people that grew up with the Zeppelins and whatever saying, this music sucks. It's not any good. It's not going to last. And now I'm watching all these bands, Korn and the Deftones celebrating 30th anniversaries, Slipknot's 25th anniversary, bands like System of a Down and Rage Against the Machine and Disturbed and Papa Roach, Like all of these bands are arguably bigger now than they were back then. And they're all still releasing great music and selling out more tickets. So obviously, like we're talking about, if it's good, it sticks around and comes back.
Exactly. In those bands, it's a different style. I think sometimes the vocals can turn some people off. But musically, most of that stuff is fantastic. I mean, new metal brought drumming to like this next level where some of these cats out there playing, they just blow me away. It's like, oh my God, these guys are fantastic. But there's a certain energy to it. And here again, you're talking 90s. This is 30 years ago.
Which, when you say it out loud, hurts my head.
Hey, trust me. I'm with you and then some. Yeah. So I get it. But hey, those fans have grown up and they're passing this music on to their kids too. So good music is going to survive. And I tell you what, if you are persistent, if you can stick to your guns, put out quality music, put on a quality show, you're going to do okay. You should be able to make a run at things. It's interesting now. I went to see Ghost earlier this year, and they had. I love the band.
Me too.
They're fantastic, but it was a no phone.
Yeah, concert. They use the Yonder pouches that a lot of schools are using now.
Yes, yeah. So that was really cool. And during the show, I realized I myself wasn't looking for my phone. I wasn't annoying somebody behind me by holding my phone up. The arena was completely engaged with the band. But, when Savatage stopped playing, this is like the early 2000s, cell phones hadn't really kicked in yet. But then all of a sudden they became this thing where everything that you play is viral within a minute. I think that really brought the execution level up in most of these bands because you're not going to get away with going out there and sounding like crap.
You and I talked about this last year. We were talking about how, like, if you drop a stick in the middle of a TSO show, not only does somebody notice it, but it ends up on YouTube in 10 minutes anyway.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So bands went on stage knowing they weren't going to get away with being sloppy or being out of tune or being out of pitch or, et cetera, et cetera. The list goes on. But I think it really brought the level of musicianship up because you're just under constant scrutiny. but at the same time, what a refreshing idea to not have those phones, glaring at the band.
Tool does that too. They have no phone shows too. That's their policy too. They'll tell everybody on the last song, you can take them out now if you want to get the pictures and like whatever. But they'll kick you out if they see you pull your phone out during a Tool show. Wow. And it makes the show so much better.
Yeah, yeah. I found that there was much more of an audience response because everybody was paying attention.
Yeah.
And I think and the show that Ghost puts on is fantastic.
It's unbelievable.
You should be watching it from beginning to end. It's great.
It's so funny how big they are and people don't realize it. I told Tobias Forge when he came on the show that I was at Fenway Park watching a Red Sox game and the organ, they still have the organ player, which, I love. And I'm like, is he playing Square Hammer right now? And he was. And
great.
I told Tobias Forge that I was like, dude, they played Square Hammer on organ at Fenway. And he was like, that's amazing. Like,
did you see him go out in that one baseball game and throw out the first pitch?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I laugh so hard. He's a beauty.
Yeah. He's another one of those guys whose creative brain is on overdrive.
Yes, it is. And here again, he's got a great team of people around him. He's getting stuff done.
Yeah.
It really is. It's awesome. It's awesome to see. You know what? And to that point, I have neighbors that don't really know much about TSL. They have no idea how big this is or really. So it's funny. Sometimes we're in the business, so we kind of understand certain bands are this big, but there's other people that are just like, Oh, TSO, you mean, yes, dun 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 dun. Oh, that band. I had no idea you guys were this or that, or you know. So it's interesting. There's so much out there. There's so much quality music and musicianship, vocalists, all the above. It's really pretty cool.
Last year when you were on the show, which was right around this time of year, we had just gotten word that production had begun. I mean, we were talking about bands coming back and iconic drummers. Spinal Tap is back.
Oh, God.
And they got like Chad Smith and Lars and Elton John and Paul McCartney in this movie. Like, I just feel like all is right with the world again because the tap is back for a whole new generation to be able to enjoy.
If you are in this business, you can relate to that movie. It's so ridiculous, but it's so spot on at the same time. Yeah, I wonder who they actually got for a drummer because the drummers don't fare too well in that band.
I know.
Yeah.
They were just on Jimmy Kimmel Live. They played Big Bottom with like 8 bass players. It was amazing.
As they should.
As they should. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like it kind of, Zach Wilde told me on the show that Ozzy thought it was a movie like about Black Sabbath. He didn't realize it was like a fake movie when he first watched it because all of that stuff had happened. He thought it was real. He was like, no, Oz, this is supposed to be a joke. And he's like, a joke? This all happened.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they got those ideas from someplace. It's probably all been reality within several different bands, and they just pulled it all together. And
yeah.
So that'll be interesting. Yeah, I'm curious to see the movie when it comes out. Should be a riot.
The holiday season kicks off your busiest time of year. How hard do you have to work right now to get ready for these shows? Because once you guys start, it's like a gauntlet.
Yeah. So musically, we've done all of this stuff many, many, many times. It doesn't take long to get things tight musically again. As far as the rehearsals go, you know, we got to tighten up segues, transitions, you know, does this song work in this spot? Who's going to sing what in particular? You know, there's definitely some things to sort out.
I mean, you personally, like physically, like, do you have to do stuff to get ready because it's such a strenuous and ridiculous pace? Like most drummers play one show a day and then get like a couple days off. You're doing 2 a days every day.
Yeah. A couple of my peers have come out to the shows and they're like, I don't know how you do that. Hey, you know what? I've been doing this from the beginning. I know the drill. I stay in shape throughout the year. I practice throughout the year. You know, everybody that's part of this tour knows what they're getting into. So you better be in shape or close to it when you get to rehearsal, because once we hit the road, it's on, and it's a lot of work. I do have the fortune of some breaks during the show. You know, the first part of our show is a story, so there's narration. There's an acoustic song or two throughout the show. There's a couple of introduction segments. So I am not playing, you know, balls out for 2 hours and 20 minutes. But this is a lot of work regardless. And trust me, when Sunday comes around, Sunday night, it's nice to have a couple of days off, for sure.
Are you on the East Coast leg or the West Coast leg this year?
East Coast.
Okay, so we are going to see you.
Yep, absolutely.
So SNHU Arena, Manchester, New Hampshire, Friday night, November 28th. DCU Center in Worcester, Saturday, November 29th. Mohegan Sun Arena, Sunday night, November 30th. 2 shows a day. Good luck. Hydrate. Happy holidays.
Hey, it's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
You know, to think years ago when this whole double show day thing started. I remember I was just talking to somebody about this in Cleveland. We did a Friday and Saturday, 2 shows each day, sold out all 4 shows. And I just remember walking on the stage, and I think it was 2005. I was like, I can't believe what's going on. This thing is really this popular. It's gotten this big. It just blew my mind. And it hasn't turned back since. It's amazing.
And everybody that I've ever talked to, even if they only, it's almost like skydiving, right? Because I've been a skydiver for years. Okay. I've never heard anybody be like, I wish I didn't go. It's always, oh my God, I loved it. Or, oh my God, I loved it. I want to go back like tomorrow. Like every person I've ever talked to that's seen TSO has just been like, it's one of the best shows I've ever seen, even if they've only seen it once. But then there's all those people that it's become like my family, like holiday tradition. Like we go every year.
Yeah. Using the word tradition was kind of funny for a while, but I think that's the reality. You know, for millions of people, this music is part of their holiday season. This tour is part of their holiday season. And, you know, it goes back to Paul and his team that created this thing, his lyrics, his stories, you know, all of this. It's just, he wanted to create something that was going to be timeless. And I think the man achieved that.
100%. Yeah.
That's really quite an accomplishment. So, hey, we're all just very happy, very proud to be able to carry on this legacy for him and still be a part of this. There seems to be no end in sight. So it's all good.
I can't wait to see the show, but I don't want to rush through Halloween. So I will be patient and I will wait for you to get here, but give me my Halloween first.
Absolutely. I'm with you. I agree. I think that's a good deal.
It was so good to see you. Thank you so much for coming back on the show.
Likewise. Always a pleasure talking to you. Take care and we'll see you soon.
Yeah, we'll see you in November.
Bye-bye.
Bye. There he is, Jeff Plate from Savatage and Trans-Siberian Orchestra. TSO is hitting the road this holiday season with a ton of dates. I've got all the TSO links in the show notes of this episode. While you're there, you'll also find Jeff Plate's links, the Mistress Carrie links, the link for Jeff's first appearance on episode 229 of the Mistress Carrie podcast, his fellow TSO bandmate Joel Hoekstra's appearance on episode 122, and the custom playlist for this week's episode. I make a playlist for every full-length episode of the Mistress Carrie podcast that features all of my guest music and all the artists and songs that we referenced in the interview. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe to the Mistress Carrie podcast. New full-length episodes come out every Wednesday, plus every weekday you get the sit rep. The Situation Report gives you all of your rock news, music headlines, and entertainment updates in about 5 minutes. And you never know when we're going to release a bonus episode. Join me live every Tuesday night at 8:30 Eastern for my weekly streaming video show, Cocktails in the War Room, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube. And you can always hear me on the radio. Get the details on all of that and more at MistressCarrie.com. The Mistress Carrie Podcast, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network.